All right, so hi everybody. My name's Jeremy Drake. As Teresa mentioned, one of the hats I wear is the NRC Vice President. Teresa is also the President of the NRC, so go Teresa. I'm also, along with Dennis Uyat, who you've seen here, co-chair of the National Zero Waste Conference, which is going to be coming up in October. Principal of Strategy Zero Waste Solutions. But today I'm going to be talking about MT Plastic Free Missoula. I'm going to tell you a little story that's called, if you have questions, you know what to do. Proof Not Promises, How Community Organizing Defeated an Artificial Turf Proposal in Missoula, Montana. So this is about baseball. So apologies in advance for any bad baseball puns or metaphors that I may choose to use. Before we get into this, I'm going to give you a little bit of framing. So Ogren Park at Allegiance Field, that's the city of Missoula's civic baseball stadium, owned by the city. Right next door is the Clark Fork River here, which is the headwaters of the Columbia River. Right over here, I'm going to go here. Underneath all of Missoula here is its sole source aquifer. That's where all the water from the city comes from. In some cases, it's only 40 feet below ground. Right next door to this baseball field is an organic management pilot program at a park. And all of this is happening in the ancestral territory of Salish, Pendere, Kootenai, and 9 other tribes. So that's the situation we have here. Here's the game plan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about MT Plastic Free. Keeping It Real at Allegiance Field is going to kind of chronicle the timeline of what we did. And then really what I'm going to focus on is the top 5 takeaways. It's kind of a community organizing 101 for some folks, but I think a lot of what we learned and did could be replicated in other communities. And then I'll just tell you what we have going on next. So MT Plastic Free is a volunteer-driven group formed after a few legislative sessions where the Montana legislature failed to act to address plastic pollution. Polystyrene, there was a polystyrene phase-out bill that came around 4 times. Straws came around, and during this past several legislative sessions, the state adopted a plastic ban preemption law. So a bunch of us got together and we sued the state of Montana, violating our constitutional right to a clean and healthful environment, which is one of Montana Constitution's strongest provisions, for adopting HB 407, the preemption law. So I'm one of 8 plaintiffs led by a nonprofit law firm on that lawsuit. We're going to be going to trial in December, so hopefully it'll be in the news. MT Plastic Free has also done ballot initiatives to try to get local plastics ordinances on the ballots. We've done a lot of community events like film screenings and community projects like making bags, and also advocacy like Skip the Stuff, and also this, Keeping It Real, Allegiance Field. So here's a bit of the timeline, what happened. We found out just reading the newspaper in July 2025 that the baseball organization, which is the lease holder of the Civic Stadium, they had asked the city if they could replace the natural grass with artificial turf. We realized that that was probably a bad idea. We didn't really know, but it sounded like a bad idea. So we started researching it, and sure enough, the science that we found said this is a bad idea for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to necessarily get into all those today, but that led us to mobilize and engage the community and city council on this issue. Few of the things we did learn: microplastics and toxins, proximity to the Clark Fork River, headwaters of the Columbia, major potential for pollution and contamination there, environmental concerns, public health concerns, youth and adult athletes being exposed to toxic chemicals, and also exposed to heat. And then climate, it's a fossil fuel product. It's like a long-term investment. And once you're in it for the long haul. It goes against climate resilience. It can lead to heat island effects. Bad deal all around. So in 2026, after getting folks together, going to committee hearings, we hosted a high-profile educational event and had a few of the city council members there. We got some press. And then the baseball folks were feeling the heat. And in February, they withdrew their proposal for turf because they didn't want the bad press. So, yeah, too easy. Seemed too easy, really. So, but we did learn some things, and so that's what I want to get into today. I'm going to talk about teaming up, research, engage, hack the process, and centering health. So, really, we heard this from a few other people today. You don't want to go at something like this by yourself. You know, find some crazy people, some passionate people who want to get into the weeds, and make a core group. You know, don't make it too big because you want to have reliability. You want to keep it small. You want to have a support system. You want to meet regularly to push this thing forward. But then you also want to find organizational alliances. Artificial turf is a really intersectional issue. It covers climate, public health, zero waste, watershed, environmental health. There's probably organizations in every community that are committed to one or more of these initiatives. And this is an issue that really can bring everybody together. These are the local organizations that we worked with and helped push this issue in the community. You're going to want to research a variety of layers. So the local context and also the topic in general, artificial turf. Tap into local resources. So in the community, is it already there? In fact, in Missoula, it was in 3 places. And in the past, there was some public concern, but it kind of got swept under the rug, and these projects move forward anyway. Local high school football field has artificial turf. One of the city parks viewed here has artificial turf, and the University of Montana football field also has artificial turf, and they're swapping out their field this summer. Too late to stop that, but we're going to use it as an opportunity to educate and do some study. So next thing you want to do is figure out what policies exist in your community that might rub up against an artificial turf proposal. In Missoula, we found several, including a sustainable building policy that the artificial turf did not align with, climate resilience efforts, the 0 by 50 goal, which the plan is shown here, and Missoula's strategic plan, which had environmental and health goals that artificial turf would definitely violate. Then you want to dig into the issue, and this is something that people around the country and around the world are working on, so there's a lot of resources out there. You got to take the time to dig in and understand them, though, because it's a deep well, and there's a lot to understand, and there's a lot that you're going to need to counter from industry in terms of the claims of sustainability and recyclability and all these things. You need to be ready for that. So in the city of Missoula, they had an evaluation done by an engineering firm. And we took a look at that and realized, wait a minute, there seems to be some things missing here. There's nothing about environmental impact. There's nothing about community health. There's nothing about toxicity. There's nothing about PFAS. This is an incomplete evaluation. When the Parks Department brought this issue to City Council, they brought a study that had been done by the city of San Jose in California, and they said, look, they spent $140,000 on this study. We don't need to spend a dime. We can just take what they learned. But what the Parks Department didn't say is that that study had not been accepted by the City Council of San Jose. It was actually rejected. So these are the things that you need to come prepared to talk about. You also need to be ready to counter the artificial turf industry playbook. They've got them out there. They're helping people get these things passed using sense of urgency and bypassing community engagement, stuff like that. So you want to engage community members in this. We started a petition, got over 500 signatures. We got folks to email city council members, host events, find ways to connect with people. This is at a climate event in Missoula. And then engage city council, right? So we organized, we got our messages together, we got our messengers together, and made a coordinated effort to communicate what we felt was missing from the dialogue. We were also able to connect with an expert, Dr. Kyla Bennett from Peer, who was able to get on the agenda for one of the hearings and have an equal amount of time as the artificial turf proponents did to talk about the other side of things. As citizens, we each only had 3 minutes to share our piece, but the folks from the baseball had as much time as they wanted, could answer all the questions from all the people. So figuring out how to get your side officially on the record is really important. So the hacking the process is important. It's not always fair. It's not always easy to figure out how to get your message and your voice heard. So as much as you can sort that out for your community, it's going to help them make it easier, remove barriers, remove friction, and make it so that more people can participate. One of the examples is we didn't know that when we sent emails to the city, it wouldn't automatically become part of public record. So we had to ask them to publish it on the agenda so that it would become part of public record. No, they're not going to tell you that. So you got to kind of figure that kind of stuff out in your community. And then finally, you want to prioritize health. One of our organizational partners did a heat study in Missoula and found that in the existing artificial turf fields, the surface temperatures of the field were 20 to 30 degrees hotter than the adjacent natural grass, proving the issue of the heat island effect. And then the toxic chemical additives. We've heard about this a little bit. The additives are not tightly bound to the plastic polymers, right? And so then you've got all these things that can migrate into the environment, migrate into bodies, and that's affecting human health. So just to wrap things up, what's next for us? Well, when I made these slides, we were forming a coalition, but we officially formed our coalition. We're going to be pushing for a city policy on artificial turf. We've got a meeting with the new parks director next week to kind of feel out what her priorities are and how we can move this along. And we're going to continue to drive the narrative about how we need to have less plastic in our community, not more. We're screening the plastic detox next week, and we're going to be hosting a community dialogue after that. And so if, just to wrap things up, in the words of Reverend Lennox Yearwood of the Hip Hop Caucus, organized people beat organized money every single time. So let's play ball for people on the planet, everybody. Thank you so much.